All right, so happy Model Monday. Welcome to part number 3 of our sunglasses modeling here. Sunglasses designing, let's say. We're going to be cutting these on the machine right behind me here. Here's my test pair. I've already broken them, so need another pair already. But that's okay, because here we go. I'm just going to jump right in to Fusion. All right, so you can see I've got my head scan here, and I went ahead and aligned it-ish. So you can see from, if I look at from the front here, I've aligned my origin, so it's kind of like right in between my eyes, right at about where the nose bridge is going to be. And then I brought it, towards the front a little bit, just so this plane I had access to draw on without turning on and off bodies. I also made a tweak to our lens. So if you remember last week, was it last week or the week before? One of those two, we made these lenses here. I went ahead and took the curve that makes up the shape of our lens here, or the convex nature of our lens, and I extended it out just a little bit. And then I also went to our profile sketch, and I right-clicked on it, and I said, hey, I want to edit that sketch. And I made a couple of additional offset lines. So one of them that's out 5 millimeters, and the other one, if I zoom in, is inward 0.5 millimeters. And what that does is it kind of will make up the frame of our sunglasses, because everything in our sunglasses is kind of based on the lenses, right? Like the general shape of the frames comes from the lenses. So I drew those sketches here. We'll see if I regret that later. But it seems like it might be the right call to make. I guess we could make multiple different frame shapes. But anyway, so this is the route I'm going with here. All right, so I'm going to close this document. I'm going to say don't save because I changed it to be how I wanted it before. All right, so now I've got my head open here, and now I can right-click on my lens, and I can say Insert into Current Design. So now I've got this little gizmo, and I can orient it how I would like to see it. Do I want to be 90? I think I want to be like there. It looks like a nice angle. And then if I move it into place roughly, my eyeball wants to be like, this is the height of my eyes about. And I kind of want my eyes to be in the middle-ish of my lens there. And then I'm going to look at it from the top as well, because I'm going to tilt it this way a little as well, I think. And bring it in. And I'm going to look at it from the front again. Yeah. Might bring it out just a smidge. I might tilt it back a little bit. Maybe like... Actually, let's roll with it like that. Like it tilted pretty far back. How far we tilt these sunglasses will determine like the thickness of the stock of material we need to cut this out on. So, I've got almost an inch thick stock. So we've got a decent amount of curve that we'll be able to put in here. So once I've got it positioned, I'm going to go ahead and say, okay. All right, cool. That looks pretty good, I think. Let's go ahead. Well, I wonder if I should have extruded. If I click extrude here. Oh, yeah, it's going to extrude normal to the plane. All right, so that's good. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to the Surface Workspace. I'm going to click on the Create menu, and I'm going to come down to this thicken option. Actually, tell you what, I'm going to make a new component. I'm going to make a new component. This is going to be my frame, or, yeah, we'll call it frame. And then I'm going to make a component inside of that, too. I'm probably going to end up making 2 components inside of that. But this is going to be my front of my frame. And then eventually I'll have a sides as well for the sides that go around the edge. I'm going to right-click on this front, and I'm going to choose to unground it from the parent. I dislike that as a default. So now, if I choose to thicken, I should be able... Oh, I can't. Why can I not select you? Interesting. So it won't let me thicken from this component here. Tell you what, let me go back to my main document here. Create, thicken. Yeah, it won't let me thicken. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to right-click. I don't know if this is the best option because I really want to keep it parametric. But it won't let me thicken this face because it's not really part of this document. It's part of its own document. It's linked to it. Gosh, can I just copy and paste that? Can I say, hey, copy and paste? What if I right-click on the body here? Can I copy and paste? And then if I say OK, is that now? All right, so let's do this a slightly different way. I'm going to keep my lens in here because I don't see a need to get rid of it. I'm wondering if I choose from my insert menu, if I choose insert derive, and I come down to my lens test as the file I'm going to insert or derive from. Invalid target. Lenses inserted into sunglasses. All right, so it won't let me do that either. All right, I'm gonna right click on it, and it won't let me do it from inside of the component. I'm gonna right click on it, and I'm gonna break the link because now, in theory, it will let me thicken. Yeah, now it'll let me thicken. So I'm gonna thicken it to 4 millimeters. 4 seems like a nice thickness for some sunglasses. I can always change this later. Even though we broke the parametric link to our original lenses, we can still edit them here and it'll be parametric. Yeah, and I can change the thickness to be parametric too. So now I'm going to go and grab my extrude tool. And you'll notice it thickened them out here. I'm going to turn off my head. Carl's head. There we go. So it thickened them in the direction that I needed them to be thickened. If I turn on and off the body, you can see it thickened in the same direction that my lens thickened in. So when I come up to my I'm going to switch back to the solid working environment. I'm going to choose the extrude option, and I'm going to extrude out these 3 shapes. I'm going to extrude them backwards. So it goes through the body that I just made. I'm going to change it to all as a distance, as an extent type. And I'm also going to change it. I'm not going to cut away from my lens, but I do want to cut away from my body. my front body, and I don't actually want to cut. I want to intersect. And now I can say, okay. Now I'm going to turn on my lens there. And now from my modify menu, I'm going to choose this combine option. And from that new body, I'm going to subtract. I'm not going to join. I'm going to cut away. Where's my lens? Why is my lens? Oh, that's the lens test. Sorry. Combine. I'm going to cut this. And the thing that's going to be my cutting tool is going to be my lens. And it's going to be a cut. And I'm going to keep those tools. All right. So now if I look at the back of it, now you can see I've got a nice little recess for our lens to hopefully fit nice and snugly in there. All right, so now I've got my lens frame in there. Let's turn on my head again. Let's see how that looks with my head. Yeah, cool. So I think I'm going to want to move it out just a little bit. It's intersecting with my nose. Not that that's a bad thing, because I'm going to eventually use my head to cut away from this shape. But I think it is a little close. So I'm going to grab my move tool. I'm going to move components. And I'm going to move both my frame and my lens test components. I'm just going to move them out a little bit. Not a whole lot, just a bit. Less than 0.1 inches. All right, that looks better. All right, so now I'm still got my front as my active component. I'm going to choose to create... Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's go back in time a little bit. Now, let's create a sketch. Does this work? This may or may not work. We're going to project over the inside and the outside lines there. And then I'm going to draw on top of this. Because I kind of lined up with the origin here, I'm going to draw like a mid line. And let's give it a dimension. Why not give it a dimension if we can? We're pretty close to 0.75 inches. Let's roll with that. And now I'm going to create another line out here-ish. Create a line. We're going to draw a line like right about here. We do want it to be straight, horizontal, straight vertical there. And I want to make this like a 1/2 inch line. And I'm going to just kind of place it roughly in here-ish. Roughly where the sides of my frames, lens frames will be. And now, to complete my sunglasses, I'm going to draw a spline. I'm going to draw an arc. I'm going to draw a 3-point arc that connects these two things together. We're just going to make it tangent up here. And I'm going to draw another arc here. Let's zoom into that a little bit. All right. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And now over on the side here, I'm gonna keep rolling with my 3-point arc tool. I'm gonna be mirroring this. So because I'm mirroring it, I'm gonna draw a line that is straight horizontal. I'm gonna turn it into a construction line. I'm going to click in no man's land so there's nothing selected. And then if I choose from my constraints menu the tangent option, I can make this arc tangent to this line. That way when I mirror this over, it will it'll look like just one smooth curve, which is a goal of mine. All right, so now the last 3-point arc I need to make is just gonna go from right in here somewhere-ish to right about here. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna draw a line that is straight horizontal, or make sure it's got that perpendicular constraint going on to our straight vertical line. I'm gonna change it to a construction line. I'm gonna zoom out and click on no man's land over here. And then I'm going to choose my tangent constraint and add it between that arc that I just made and that there line. And then I can drag this down until I'm satisfied with the shape of that curve. That looks pretty good. I'm going to say finish sketch. Now, when I start time traveling towards the future, I'm going to right click on this extrude that I did originally, and I'm going to change it, change the profile. So I'm going to extrude out now. Let's go ahead and change this to distance. Let's make a new body because I want to be able to click on all the parts here. Okay, there we go. And now the direction that I'm extruding is going to be towards my shape. Make sure it goes through my shape. And I'll make sure my lens shape, it needs to go in both directions here. So you can see my lens is out in front of my glasses a little bit. So I'm going to change this to 2 sides. And I think what I can do when I change this to cut, and I actually change it to intersect, and I make sure I've got the right body that I'm intersecting. So I can come back, and that's pretty good there. I actually want there to be, I don't need there to be a flat spot on the side, I guess, right? But we go past the edge of this curve, which is good. And then we go forward, so we capture the full front curve. And here I can see, hey, look, that is exactly 1 inch. So if we have a 1 inch piece of stock, which is what I got going down, we can cut out our sunglasses because they're going 0.9 one way and 0.1 the other way, which is great. I'm just going to say okay. Pretty sure I told it to keep the tools. All right, and now I can mirror this over, and then we'll start to see the shape of our sunglasses here. So I'm going to create a mirror. Actually, let's cut away our body first. We're not done time traveling. Now, if I step forward into the present, I'm going to turn off my head, which is not hard for me to do here. Looks like that didn't quite make it. All right. So we can't do both of our extrusions that way, but maybe we can do one of them. So I'm not upset that I made that sketch. I'm going to change my extrusion. The thing that I'm extruding is going to go back to the original shapes here. We're extruding that. Just one side. And it's going to be set to all. It's going to be set to all. And it's going to be an intersection just with the front. All right, so now that gets cut away correctly. Now, let's do this. I'm going to turn back on my sketch. From my create menu, I'm going to choose to extrude. I'm going to extrude this here shape right there. And let's try this. I'm going to extrude it 2 sides. The side 1, which is this side right here, we're going to be, let's make it a new body for now. And instead of an extent type of distance, we're going to go to an object. What happens if I choose... Where is that? Where is this body coming from? All right. So I'm going to grab my extrude tool. I'm going to extrude this to an object. This is going to be my object. And it's going to be a new body. Let's see how that looks. Oh yeah, that's forming a nice curve there. All right. I'm good with that. And then we're going to extrude it 2 sides. We're going to come outwards. I'm also going to say, hey, I want to extrude this to an object. And that's my object. I'm going to say, okay. Hey, not bad. All right, cool. I like it. So now, we need to tweak that curve a little bit. Let's do the same thing to the other side here. Let's go to extrude. I'm going to choose my little end piece here. I'm going to extrude it from an object. And that's going to be my object I extrude from. And I'm going to extrude also to an object. And that is going to be the other side of this face. Oh, nope, doesn't want to do that. Let's extrude. Well, it needs to extrude from an object for sure. What if I just extrude it out from the back here? Nope, the extrusion profile is outside of the boundary. All right, plan B. So we need a body that exists out here. We've still got this little lens component here. Let's just make another body out of that. So I'm going to come back to my surface workspace. I'm going to come down to thicken. I'm going to thicken that the same distance as I did before, so 4 millimeters. I'm going to come back to my solid workspace. I'm going to choose extrude. That's the object I'm going to extrude. We're going to go distance of all, and it's going to be once again an intersect. And the objects that I'm going to intersect is just going to be that body 3. It's not making it at the same spot. That's interesting. Oh, because my lens isn't made from the same profile plane. I need to extrude out more than what I've got here. Or, yeah, well, I need to move it over. Maybe I'll go that route. Although my curve's not going to match. Probably should have just drawn this ear thing on this other sketch. Those are the bodies. That's my nose. Yeah, probably should have went that route. In fact, I wonder. Here's where I made this. Let's do an experiment. I've got a canvas. How do I find where that plane is? Look at that. So I turned on my curve profile, And that'll give me, I'll be able to get a plane that's the right angle based on this curve profile. Let's try an experiment here. So I'm going to do some more time traveling. I'm going to go back in time. This is how you know I'm just kind of figuring out things as we go, right? I'm going to construct a plane at an angle from this plane right back here that's part of our lens component, it's our curve profile. And now, if I step forward and I choose to redefine the sketch plane for this sketch. Now, this isn't a thing that I do a whole lot. And it's kind of hard to tell what's going to happen. Like, that is not what I would have predicted. If I edit this sketch, I'll probably need to redraw most of it, which is fun. So that's what we're here for anyway. Because these green lines mean like, hey man, I don't know where this body is. It no longer computes. Total fail. So we're just gonna delete them. I'm gonna delete it. Everything but that main. I guess I can leave on, before I made that body, I want to leave on like my lens, I guess. I'm wrong, hold on. I've been wrong before, I'll be wrong again. I need to be after the extrude. I should just draw it on this other body. I'm going to do that. I'm going to come back to the in my lens profile, in my lens component. I'm going to right click on the profile. I'm going to say edit sketch. And I'm just going to draw on the little bits that I want to draw on this sketch. I probably should have done this right here from the start. I kind of liked the idea of having components that weren't, or I'm sorry, a lens component that would have been kind of separate from this component here. Separate in the way that, like, when inevitably I'm going to want to go back and change my lens shape because it's just not quite right. It would be easy and parametric for me to do it right from its own document. And then when I come into this document, it would just update. I don't want to make a line. I want to make a curve there. But since we kind of gave that up early, or I gave it up early, let's add my tangent constraint over here. Missed arc, 3-point arc. I'm going to make my two curves over here and one over here. I'm going to do that same thing down here where I make sure I have a line that calls a tangent. Add my tangent constraint. Okay, now. All right. Now when I come back into my front component, I'm going to turn off whatever that sketch is because that no longer applies here. If I step into the... Which extrusion are you? That extrusion is now going to include both of those shapes. And the distance It's still going to be intersect. It's still going to be set to all. All right. I'm going to say OK. And then my combine happens just fine. Let's turn off that construction plane because it's in the way. I've hidden my body, so there it is. All right, so now there it is. And I'm going to create my... Actually, I don't need these other two items here. I can delete them from my history down at the bottom. All right, now I can create my mirror of that body, and it's going to be over this plane right here. We're going to join them together. There we go. Cool. All right, so pretty nice. That's my sunglasses shape. Of course, you can tweak this as you see fit. If I turn on my head, that's how it's going to look on my face right there. Feel free to make adjustments, right, to the way your own lens frames works. Again, you're making your sunglasses. You're not making my sunglasses. But next week, we will finish up our fronts, and I'll show you how to use this head mesh to cut away from our lens frame here and make our nose bridge. So I will see you next week when we will be continuing our sunglasses project. All right, see ya.